Each house in your birth chart is in charge of a certain area of your life and certain topics that go along with that. So if you want to engage with a certain area of your life astrologically, you look to that house for ways to do that. Today we are talking about the fourth house. The fourth house sits at the very bottom of your chart, right? It's sitting down there and it is providing foundation for everything else. Your fourth house is your home, your family, your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your early childhood life, the home you live in right now, your lineage, your bloodline, your ancestry. The fourth house is really speaking to where you come from, what made you in that way. It is all about grounding, roots, and the sense that you know where you come from and how you feel about that. So it can speak to anything that relates to that for you. And so home can be metaphorical in that way. It can be literal. Chosen family, your literal family, like it's going to be a little bit more specific based on what actually is grounding and is safety and are your roots, right? But actually all of it is going to fall into the fourth house in that way. It's going to speak a lot to what makes you feel grounded. There are moments where I feel like you want to consider your vessel, your body, as home in some ways, not in the sense of like your health or your actual physical body, but the way that you feel grounded in yourself, the way that you feel grounded in your life, if that makes sense, like the way that it roots you, if that makes sense. Yeah, it can speak to how you are privately, how you feel about privacy, your need for privacy, how you feel when you're alone, and who you feel like you are when you're alone. You know, what you need when no one is watching and how you express those needs. The fourth house is the first angular house that we're coming up on since the first house, right? So the first house set up you, and then we had a succedent house and a cadent house following in that order. Right now we're setting up a new angle, a new pillar in your life, right? And this is home, this is family, this is where you come from. And it's a really critical house because of that, right? So placements that show up in your fourth house and transits to your fourth house can feel really significant. They can feel really prominent. You might really feel them. They can feel related to all of these topics that we've been talking about. But they can feel big. They can feel prominent. But they also can feel like they challenge your sense of self in some ways, right? They're forming a whole sign square to your first house, which is the house of you. So this house is where you come from is not who you are, you know? So at times where you come from can challenge who you are, it can build who you are, it can really inform who you are, but sometimes that's through contrast and contradiction and conflict, right? So that relationship is just acknowledging that sometimes there can be tension between where you come from and who you actually are, right? But they're very important and both are speaking in some ways, right, to you in that way. Yeah. If your IC, your Imam Kweli, is in your fourth house, then we're going to kind of double down on these themes when it comes to your feelings about privacy, safety, grounding, home, and sort of how you are in private. And it might mean that you really feel like you need certain kinds of foundations, like you, if you don't have them, the search for them and the creation of them might be very important to you in your life. Yeah, you might really feel like your home or your bedroom is your safe place, or that it needs to be if it's not. And yeah, you can look to the ruler of your fourth house for more information about how to connect with this house, how to address this house in some ways, right? The house that the ruler of your fourth house is in, the sign that it's in and aspects to it will speak to how you can, get to know this house a little bit better. If you have any questions, please let me know. And up next, we have the fifth house.